Welcome, dear listener, to Whispers of the Night, a quiet place where your mind can rest and where gentle stories drift like candlelight across the dark. Tonight, we will journey into the timeless tale of a snow-white princess, a story of forests, of mirrors, of colors as pure as snow, as deep as night. But first, allow yourself to settle. Wherever you are, let the day soften and fall away. Know that you are safe, you are warm, and you are here, listening, resting, drifting. This story is yours now, carried like a soft lantern into the night. Before we step into the forest of the story, take this moment to simply rest. Close your eyes, if you haven't already, and allow your breath to become a gentle rhythm in and out, like waves touching the shore, like snowflakes drifting. To the ground, feel the weight of your body sink deeper into comfort. Every part of you is invited to soften now. Your shoulders loosen, your hands grow heavy, your feet rest quietly. You are safe here. You are warm, even as we imagine the cool push of falling snow. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a quiet forest. Tall trees stretch upward, their branches frosted with silver. The night is hushed, except for the soft whisper of wind moving through the leaves. Every sound, every breath carries you deeper into calm. There is no need to hold on to the day anymore. Its weight can slip away like footprints in fresh snow. All that matters is this moment, this breath, this calm, this gentle beginning. And as you stand in this quiet place, the story waits for you. A lantern flickers softly in the distance, guiding you forward, toward the tale of a snow-white princess. A snow-white princess. Snow, blood, and the mirror. You stand at the edge of a winter forest where the snow drifts slowly from a sky the color of pearl. Each flake falls without hurry, without sound, as though the world has decided to pause its movement, to let silence breathe. The trees are tall, their bare branches etched against the white, like ink drawn across parchment. You take a step forward, and your foot sinks gently into the snow, leaving a hollow impression that fills almost at once with softness, as if the earth wishes to cover its secrets again. This is where the story begins, not with noise, not with a rush, but with a hush so deep that you can hear your own heartbeat, steady as a drum inside your chest. The stillness around you seems to lean in, as if it wishes to tell you something, to invite you closer. Somewhere in this forest lies the root of a tale, older than memory, older than books, older even than the language you speak now. It is a tale of snow, of blood, and of a mirror that whispers of beauty and shadow. The snow is the first to speak. Snow, in stories, has always meant more than winter. It is purity, it is silence, it is the breath of a world newly born. In the cold, your senses grow sharper, and yet the hush of snow softens everything. muffles every edge. The whiteness is not empty, it is full of light caught in crystal, full of endless variations of structure. A single snowflake is a miracle of geometry, a frozen cathedral too small for the eye to truly see. 6 arms reaching outward, shaped by the invisible architecture of air, humidity, and temperature. No two alike, though the differences are almost imperceptible. The purity of snow has long been a symbol in myth. White is the color of beginnings, of innocence untouched. In ancient stories, it stands for the fragile perfection of something new. But snow is not only soft, it is also cold. It can bury, it can silence, it can hide. That, too, is its secret. Snow can cover footprints, erase paths, make a world seem pristine when underneath life struggles and endures. You walk deeper into the whiteness, and soon a glimmer appears before you, a faint shimmer, like water catching light. At first, you think it is a frozen stream, but as you draw closer, you see it is a mirror, tall and thin, standing upright against the trees. The glass is dim, almost smoky, as though it remembers every gaze that has ever peered into it. Mirrors are strange things. They are tools of reflection, but also of transformation. To look into a mirror is to see yourself as others see you, reversed, unfamiliar, uncanny. Ancient cultures both feared and revered mirrors. Some believed they could trap souls, others that they could reveal truth. In folklore, mirrors are thresholds, places where this world and the other touch. You look into the mirror, and snowflakes melt against its surface, leaving tiny droplets that slide down like tears. Your reflection wavers. Behind you, the forest seems deeper, darker. Within the mirror, you glimpse not just your face, but also the faint outlines of something older. A woman, pale as snow, with lips red as spilled berries and hair dark as raven's wings. She lingers only for a breath before fading back into the shimmer. This is Snow White, not the girl you know from softened tales, but the essence of the story's beginning. She is born in the wish of a queen who once sat by a window of ebony wood, sewing as snowflakes drifted past. The queen pricked her finger, and 3 drops of blood fell upon the snow. She thought, if only I had a child as white as this snow, as red as this blood, as black as this wood. White, red, black. 3 colors, 3 symbols, 3 roots of meaning that twine together into something timeless. White is purity and innocence. Red is vitality, the pulse of life, desire and danger. Black is the unknown, the shadow, the fertile soil in which mystery grows. These colors are not chosen by accident. They are elemental. Across many myths, white, red, and black are the triad of the sacred. They appear in alchemy, in rites of passage, in the symbolism of dawn, noon, and night. You picture the queen at her window, the snow drifting beyond, her blood blooming bright upon the cloth. In that simple moment, a wish became a spell, a seed planted in the fertile ground of story. Snow White was not yet born, but already the colors of her being were chosen, the palette of her life painted in symbols. And what of the mirror? In the fairy tale, the mirror speaks. It answers questions no one else dares to ask. Who is the fairest of them all? The queen asks, and the mirror tells her the truth. regardless of her longing. But what is fairness? What is beauty? In the story's time, beauty was not only about appearance, but about fate, fortune, and favor. To be the fairest meant to hold the light of destiny, to be chosen by the gaze of the world. Science tells us that mirrors reverse, but also clarify. They allow us to see what is hidden to our own eyes, yet they are never entirely truthful. The reflection you see is slightly altered, your face not exactly as others perceive it. Even the light itself is delayed, bouncing from glass to eye, already a fraction of a second old. In this way, mirrors remind us that perception is never perfect, always filtered, always just slightly askew. You linger with the mirror, watching the way your breath clouds its surface, then fades away. Breath itself is a reminder, each exhale, a small cloud of life, warm against the cold. The forest listens, the snow continues to fall, the story continues to unfold. The tale of Snow White has passed through centuries, changed and reshaped by the mouths that carried it. It is both soft and sharp. It is a story of innocence and danger, of nurture and jealousy, of life and sleep and awakening. Yet at its root, it begins here, with snow, with blood, with the mirror that tells the truth even when the truth is unwelcome. You walk onward, deeper into the forest, carrying these colors within you. White like the snow under your feet, red like the warmth still in your chest, black like the endless trees that close around you, holding secrets in their shadows. The path is uncertain, yet the hush of the world makes you feel safe, cocooned, wrapped in a dream. The mirror fades behind you, and ahead, the forest seems to open into a space darker, richer, filled with something waiting. A story does not end with its symbols. It grows from them, branching outward. You feel that you are about to step into the deeper heart of the tale, where choices are made, where shadows lengthen, where sleep itself might become a doorway. And as you drift further, the snow still falling, the path still soft beneath your steps, you begin to wonder what lies within the next chapter, what dreams, what myths, what quiet truths about the nature of being human are waiting just beyond the edge of the clearing. A princess of many names. You step from the silent hush of the forest into the glow of human settlement. The air shifts, no longer just the whisper of snow or the crackle of frozen branches, but the faint warmth of hearth smoke drifting from unseen chimneys. It curls upward into the night, pale gray threads unspooling into the dark sky. You feel the change at once, from wilderness to village, from solitude to community, from the solitary hush of snow to the murmur of voices. In the village square, you imagine a circle of people gathered around the hearth of an inn, or perhaps around a wide fire in the center of a long wooden hall. The light is low and golden. Shadows rise and fall against timber beams. Children lean close to parents. Elders nod with heavy lids. Travelers shake snow from their cloaks. There, within this warmth, a story is told. The story might sound familiar. It might begin with a queen by a window, a drop of blood, and the wish for a child of snow, of blood, of ebony wood. But then the tale bends in ways you did not expect. Perhaps the child is not called Snow White, but something else. Perhaps the villain is not a queen, but a band of sisters, or a witch who wears not crowns, but wild herbs in her hair. Perhaps the sleep is not caused by a poisoned apple, but by a golden ring or a comb set with jewels. Here, in the flickering glow, you discover the truth. Snow White is not one story. She is many. A princess of many names. She wanders across languages, across continents, across centuries. She wears 100 faces, yet always carries the same seed, the same quiet pattern of innocence, danger, death-like, sleep, and awakening. The German tale, written down by the Brothers Grimm, is only one version, fixed in print in the early 19th century. But long before it was ink upon a page, it was sound upon air, a current of spoken words, drifting from mouth to ear, from grandmother to child, from traveler to stranger. The story lived in countless homes before it lived in books. And in those homes, in those villages, the details shifted like smoke, shaped by wind, by time, by the teller's breath. You think of this like snow itself. A snowflake forms from a single crystal, but as it drifts, it gathers, it grows, it branches in new ways, depending on the air it falls through. No two flakes are the same, yet all carry the hexagonal symmetry of water molecules binding into ice. Stories are much like that. They crystallize around a core, but their shape depends on the climate of culture, the winds of history, the breath of the storyteller. And so, Snow White is never just Snow White. In Italy, there is Biancabella, whose tale shares echoes of beauty, envy, and trials. In Russia, there is The Dead Princess and the Seven Knights, a story written down by Alexander Pushkin in verse, carrying the same rhythm of a girl threatened by envy, aided by protectors, and brought low by a poisoned apple. In Albania, there is Snow White and Rose Red, which the Grimms also recorded, not the same as the better-known tale, yet woven from the same threads of siblinghood, wilderness and kindness rewarded. Travel further, and you find tales across Turkey, Armenia, and Greece. In one, a jealous stepmother asks the sun itself who is fairest, and the sun answers with the name of the child she despises. In another, the girl hides, not with dwarves, but with bandits who live deep in the mountain caves. The comb, the ring, the poisoned fruit, these change shape, but their meaning does not. Each is an object that carries danger disguised as gift, beauty that hides peril, temptation that leads to stillness. Even in China, there are fragments that recall this tale's shape. The scholar Wolfram Eberhard noted stories in which a jealous elder woman seeks to destroy a younger one whose beauty surpasses hers, often with the aid of magical objects, often with the younger girl falling into a death-like state. Though distant in geography, the resonance is familiar, like a melody hummed in another key. Why does this pattern repeat? Why does humanity, scattered across mountains and seas, return again and again to the image of the girl in danger, the sleep, the awakening? Some scholars believe it is because the tale encodes a rite of passage. In ancient societies, The transition from childhood to adulthood was often imagined as a kind of death and rebirth. The girl lies as if dead, and in rising, she becomes transformed. No longer a child, but something new. Science, too, teaches us that certain patterns repeat across nature. Spirals of galaxies echo the spirals of shells. The branching of rivers resembles the branching of blood vessels or trees. In the same way, stories branch, repeat, echo, not because they were copied, but because they are born from the same human mind, shaped by the same needs as you sit by the imagined hearth. You listen to these voices and realize the story is less about one princess than about the pattern itself. It is a lattice, a structure like a crystal, and across cultures, across generations, humans keep finding new ways to grow that crystal, to let it glitter in slightly different light. You picture the Russian dead princess lying in her coffin of crystal glass. The knights who protect her stand guard, much like the 7 dwarfs, but they are not miners of stone. They are warriors of loyalty. You imagine the Italian Biancabella, who suffers envy and treachery, but endures through kindness. You imagine the stepmother, who asks not a mirror, but the sun to confirm her fading beauty. Each variation feels like a branch of a tree reaching outward, yet always connected to the same trunk. And beneath it all lies the science of memory. Human memory is not fixed. It is fluid, pliable, altered each time it is recalled. When a grandmother tells her version of Snow White, she is not reproducing it like a recording. She is reshaping it in her own mind as she speaks. The child, listening, reshapes it again, carrying forward not every detail but the emotional core, the image of the apple, the sleep, the awakening. Through this process of remembering and forgetting, stories evolve like living beings adapting to new environments. Neuroscience shows us that each act of remembering changes the memory itself. Like footprints in the snow, they are softened, altered, covered, then pressed again in slightly new shapes. In this way, the story of Snow White is not ancient in the sense of being frozen in time. It is ancient in the sense of being alive, continuously growing, continuously renewed. You imagine smoke rising from hearths in countless villages, Russia, Italy, Germany, Armenia, China. Each curl of smoke carries a version of the same story, rising into the night, mingling in the vast sky. Stories, like smoke, drift and spread, impossible to contain, yet all born of the same flame. The firelight in the village grows dim now. As if the telling is done, the storyteller's voice fades. Children nod into sleep against their parents' shoulders. The embers glow low, their light soft and red, like the last heartbeat of the day. You feel yourself drowsy, too lulled by the rhythm of words, the gentle repetition of images that cross borders, cross languages, cross centuries. Snow White is not alone. She is never alone. She is one of many, her name shifting, her face changing, her dangers wearing different masks. Yet the heart of her story remains, a girl of purity, threatened by envy, a descent into stillness, into death-like pause, a return, an awakening. The hearth smoke drifts upward into the night, and you follow it with your eyes until it vanishes among the stars. you realize that stories are like constellations, scattered points of light across cultures, across time. Yet, when connected by imagination, they form patterns recognizable everywhere. And so you linger with this thought, the warmth of many tales, still holding you, the hush of many voices still echoing in your ears. You have wandered into villages and found that Snow White is not a single girl, but a chorus, a harmony, a constellation of stories reflecting the same light. The Sleeping Maiden. Beneath the heavy boughs of pine, a soft hush rests on the forest floor. Snow lies thick and undisturbed, except for the faint indentations where deer have passed and the quiet trace of a bird's wing brushing the surface. At the center of this quiet stands a coffin of glass, its surface touched with frost, its corners glimmering faintly in the winter light. Inside lies a maiden, pale and still, her lips the color of berries pressed against snow, her hair dark as the wing of a raven. She does not move. She does not breathe, at least not in any way you can see. Her stillness is not the stillness of death, nor the motion of life. It is something between, a suspension, a pause. Time seems to bend around her, slowing to match her rest. Even the snow falls more softly here, flakes drifting down as though unwilling to disturb the quiet. You draw closer, and as you look upon her, you feel the hush seep into you. The rhythm of your breath slows. Your heartbeat softens. It is as though she is not only sleeping, but drawing you gently into the same dream. Her silence is contagious, a lullaby without sound. The image of the sleeping maiden is one of the oldest in human imagination. She appears not only in this forest, not only in this story, but across myths, across cultures. A girl who sleeps, untouched by time, waiting for an awakening. She is a symbol of purity, of danger survived, of transformation yet to come. But beyond the symbol, beyond the fairy tale, there is something deeply human here, something biological, something scientific, woven into the very nature of how life endures. Because sleep itself is an ancient enchantment. Every night you surrender to it. You lie down, your body heavy, your mind releasing its hold. You close your eyes and the world falls away. Hours pass in silence, in darkness. You wake and it feels as though no time has passed at all. But inside that silence, vast work has been done. Sleep is not absence. Sleep is repair. The maiden in the coffin is a metaphor for this nightly ritual. She lies still, yet her body, if it were real, would be undergoing quiet processes, hidden beneath the calm. So too do you every night enter your own enchanted pause. Science tells us that sleep is not uniform. It moves in cycles, waves within waves. There is light sleep when your breathing slows, but you are still close to waking. There is deep sleep when your body repairs itself, muscles knit, tissues heal. And there is dreaming sleep, rapid eye movement, when your brain lights with activity, replaying, reshaping, reweaving the fabric of memory. The sleeping maiden embodies all these layers. Her stillness is like deep sleep, when time seems to stop and the body rests in its most profound silence. Yet she is also like a dream, a symbol held in glass, a vision you cannot touch yet, cannot forget. As you stand by the coffin, your thoughts drift to winter itself. The forest around her seems locked in its own version of slumber. Trees have withdrawn into themselves, their sap slowed, their branches bare. Animals curl in dens and hollows, conserving warmth, waiting for the return of light. The earth is not dead, it is sleeping. And this seasonal sleep has shaped human imagination for as long as stories have been told. In the far north, people saw the long winter night as a kind of hibernation for the world, a breath held until spring. In myths, gods and heroes often rest in mountains or caves, sleeping through centuries until the time comes to return. King Arthur, it is said, rests in Avalon. The Norse god Odin hung in stillness upon the tree Yggdrasil, suspended between life and death, a form of waking, sleep. And here, Snow White lies in her coffin of glass, waiting for the moment of her awakening. Hibernation itself is a marvel. Bears, ground squirrels, bats, many creatures slow their bodies almost to stillness in winter. Their heart rates drop, their temperature lowers, their metabolism nearly halts. To see such an animal curled in its den is to witness something uncanny, alive, yet not moving, as though enchanted. The maiden mirrors this, her own life hidden beneath the surface, waiting, conserving, preparing. Science has begun to study these states closely, for they hold secrets we long to understand. How can a creature pause its functions so deeply and yet awaken unharmed? Could humans too someday learn such stillness, for medicine, for travel, for healing? The glass coffin, in this way, becomes almost prophetic, a dream of a future where sleep might be extended, controlled, protective. But for now, it is metaphor, it is image. The maiden lies still, and you, watching, begin to reflect on your own need for rest. Each night, when you surrender to sleep, you place yourself into a coffin of sorts, not of glass, but of darkness, of blankets, of silence. You trust that you will return, that the pause is safe. That time will carry you gently, and so you feel less afraid of her stillness. You see it not as death, but as a mirror of your own nightly passage. You begin to notice the way your eyelids feel heavy, the way your breath has already slowed in sympathy with hers. The forest leans closer, frost shimmers on the glass, and in it, you catch reflections of the pines above, of the snow beneath, of your own figure bent in quiet observation. Reflections within reflections, like dreams within sleep. Dreams themselves are another part of this enchantment. The maiden may not dream in her stillness, yet you do. In dreams, the mind weaves symbols, reshapes memories, builds strange narratives that feel both real and impossible. Some scientists believe dreams help the brain process emotions, file memories, solve problems. Others believe they are simply the random firing of neurons, given story by the mind's hunger for pattern. Either way, they are part of sleep's magic, the mystery that turns silence into meaning. Perhaps the maiden, though still, also dreams. Perhaps the coffin is filled with her visions of forests, of mountains, of skies where snowflakes fall without end. Perhaps, as you stand there, you are part of her dream, a figure she imagines as she drifts in endless night. The thought makes you feel lighter, as though your presence here is not only as observer, but as companion. Time passes strangely beside her. Minutes feel like hours, or perhaps only seconds. You lose track, lulled by the sameness of her breathless stillness, and yet you realize this is how sleep always feels. A span of hours vanishes in what feels like a blink. The maiden embodies this vanishing, this slip from time. In this way, her coffin is not only glass, but also clock. It measures not by ticking, but by absence, by the space where movement should be. And you feel your own body align with that rhythm, slowing, softening, becoming part of the stillness. There is something tender about this, something reassuring, that life can pause, that stillness is not always an ending, but often a preparation, that even silence has work hidden within it. The maiden's story reminds you that your own body, too, is wise. It knows when to rest. It knows how to heal. It knows how to sink into stillness, and then, when the time is right, to rise again. The snow continues to fall. The forest remains quiet. The glass coffin gleams faintly, a lantern of ice in the dim light. You linger, not because you expect her to stir, but because her stillness teaches you something you had almost forgotten, that rest is sacred. Slowly, your thoughts drift outward, from the maiden to the forest, from the forest to the wider world, from the world to the ancient stories where sleeping figures wait in caves, in mountains, in crystal coffins. They all hold the same promise, that sleep is not forever, that pause is not end, that awakening will come. Your eyes grow heavy. The maiden's stillness feels like a blanket drawn over you. You do not resist. You breathe deeply, matching the silence, letting the rhythm of her rest guide you. And in this drowsy hush, you begin to wonder, what awakens her? What awakens you? Is it a touch, a word, a moment of light? Is it the turning of the season, the slow lengthening of days, the return of warmth to the soil? Is awakening always sudden, or does it arrive gently, like dawn spreading across the horizon? You let these questions drift, unanswered, knowing they will carry you into the next stage of the tale. The maiden still sleeps, the snow still falls, and the story waits, paused, ready to open its eyes. Seven figures in the forest. The forest grows thicker as you wander, but instead of feeling lost, you feel held. Tall pines surround you like pillars in a cathedral, their trunks dark and straight, their crowns whispering in the evening wind. The light grows dim, filtered through needles, softened into a blue-green dusk. And then, through the hush, you glimpse it, a cottage, nestled as though grown from the woods themselves. It is small, its walls of timber, its roof steep to keep the snow sliding off in winter. A curl of smoke drifts from the chimney, winding into the twilight. You step closer, and even before you enter, you sense the rhythm inside. Not the hush of sleep this time, but the gentle pulse of work and living. A different kind of lullaby, one of pattern, of repetition, of steady labor. You push the door, and it opens with a soft creak. Inside, the world is scaled small, as though built for figures shorter than yourself. There are 7 chairs, arranged neatly around a table, 7 plates, 7 spoons, 7 mugs. In the corner, 7 little beds are lined side by side, their blankets folded with care, and everywhere the signs of work. Hammers resting near anvils, pickaxes leaning by the door, wooden shelves filled with stone and ore. The place feels orderly, lived in, yet also waiting for the 7 figures who will soon return. The dwarfs in the story are miners. They live not by royalty or enchantment, but by work, the daily rhythm of digging into the earth, extracting stone and gem, shaping the raw material of the world. In contrast to the queen with her mirror, who measures value by beauty, the dwarves measure worth by labor, by skill, by persistence. They are steady, practical, enduring. As you move through the cottage, you feel that rhythm echo in yourself. The 7 chairs seem like beats of a pulse. The tools, worn smooth by use, whisper of countless days repeating each stroke of pick against stone, marking the passing of time. There is comfort in this repetition, in the knowledge that tomorrow will look much like today. Work, after all, is its own kind of heartbeat, just as your body sustains itself through steady cycles. Breath in, breath out, pulse and rest, waking and sleeping, so to do human lives sustain themselves through patterns of labor. Rising, tending, building, creating, repeating. The dwarf's world is built on this rhythm, and by entering it, you feel your own inner metronome slow to match. Outside, the forest is vast, unpredictable. Storms come, snow falls, animals prowl. But in this cottage, inside these walls, there is order. The order of 7 bowls, 7 beds, 7 tools. You sit at the table and you notice the grain of the wood, worn by countless meals. You trace the rim of a mug, chipped but whole, but also about this atmosphere of groundedness. They are figures of work, of earth, of repetition. If the queen represents vanity, if the maiden represents innocence, then the dwarves represent persistence, the steady rhythm that holds the world in balance. Mining itself is ancient. Humans have dug into the earth for tens of thousands of years, first for flint, then for metals, then for gems. Archaeologists have found mines dating back to the Stone Age, where people worked with simple tools to extract what they needed. To mine is to engage with the bones of the planet, to pull from deep time the materials that shape human lives. You imagine the dwarfs descending into the mountain each morning, lamps in hand, pickaxes over their shoulders. They walk narrow tunnels, carved through stone, listening to the echoes of their footsteps. Each strike of the pick sends sound ringing through the rock, a hollow song of labor. Knowing that their work is part of something larger, the endless exchange between human hands and the planet's deep layers. There is poetry in this. Minerals are time slowed into stone, the memory of Earth's formation. To work them is to touch something older than human history, to hold in one's hand a fragment of geological eternity. The dwarves, in this sense, are guardians of time, workers who bridge the depths of the earth with the light of the surface. As you think of this, you realize how close their labor is to the rhythms of your own body. Bones are mineral to calcium crystallized into structure. Blood carries iron, the same iron that once formed in the hearts of stars before finding its way into your veins. To be alive is to carry the elements of mining within yourself. You are not separate from the dwarves' labor. You are part of it. You imagine the dwarfs returning, one by one, their boots dusted with soil, their faces marked with the lines of effort. They set down their tools, wash their hands, gather at the table. Their voices rise in quiet conversation, not hurried, not loud, but steady. They eat, they rest, they laugh softly, then they sleep, ready to repeat the cycle again. There is something deeply comforting in this repetition. It reminds you of the steady processes that sustain all life, the turning of the earth, the flow of tides, the cycles of moon and season. These patterns cradle you as surely as the dwarves cradle Snow White. You sit a while longer, lulled by this imagined rhythm. The fire pops, the shadows sway, the chairs stand ready. You feel your own breath settle into the same cadence, in, out. The dwarves' world has welcomed you, not with grandeur, but with the quiet embrace of repetition, and you begin to sense that the tale itself is breathing through them. Each story needs its heartbeat, its grounding. Without them, the tale would float away, untethered. The dwarfs are that tether. They keep the story steady, just as your own rhythms keep you alive. You let your eyelids grow heavy, imagining the sound of their tools in the mine, a slow percussion echoing through stone. The sound becomes softer, more distant, until it is like the thrum of your own pulse, fading gently into stillness. Poisoned fruit and dark reflections. The apple rests in her hand, gleaming as though lit from within. Its skin is smooth, its red, deep, and glossy, a color that belongs to both ripeness and warning. You look at it, and even before it is tasted, you feel its weight in the story. The apple is more than fruit. It is a symbol, a vessel of contradiction. It holds nourishment and poison, sweetness and danger, life and death. The queen, with her mirror, has chosen it carefully. She knows that beauty draws us closer, that temptation thrives when it appears wholesome. The apple, in its perfection, masks its secret, and as Snow White lifts it to her lips, you sense not only the drama of the tale, but also the vast history of fruit itself, how plants and humans have danced together through time, exchanging sweetness for survival. You think of fruit as gift, as offering. The apple tree spends months gathering sunlight, storing it in sugar, swelling its fruit until it glows like a lantern among the leaves. To eat fruit is to taste condensed sunlight, captured in the quiet patience of photosynthesis. In this way, the apple is a kind of memory, a story the tree tells through sugar. Here is the summer I caught, the light I stored, the warmth I saved. For humans, fruit has always been invitation. Long before agriculture, early people wandered, forests and savannas, guided by sight and scent, seeking berries, figs, dates. To taste fruit was to survive, to gain calories and vitamins, to carry energy from the plant into the body. We evolved, in part, as creatures drawn to sweetness, because sweetness often meant safety. Unlike bitterness, which warns of poison, sweetness told the tongue, here is nourishment, here is life. And yet, not all sweetness is safe. Plants, after all, are not passive. They do not grow fruit for humans alone. Their aim is to entice animals, to spread seeds, to ensure continuation. Some fruits cloak toxins in their flesh, deterring certain eaters while attracting others. The line between gift and danger is thin, and through history, humans have learned, sometimes painfully, to discern which fruits are friend and which are foe. The apple in Snow White's hand belongs to this shadowed boundary. It is beautiful, but beauty deceives. In the tale, the apple's danger is not natural, but crafted, steeped in envy, coated with malice. Yet, even without magic, the idea is true. Not all that shines with sweetness brings health. Nature, too, has its mirrors, its reflections that turn sweetness into trap. You let your thoughts drift toward poison itself, that ancient companion of life. For as long as there has been eating, there has been danger. Mushrooms that shimmer with toxins, berries whose color lures but whose flesh kills, seeds that hide cyanide within their shells. To live has always been to balance curiosity with caution, hunger with fear. Poison, in a scientific sense, is simply matter that interferes with life's delicate machinery. Some poisons block the tiny pumps in our cells, halting the dance of sodium and potassium that lets nerves fire. Others bind to hemoglobin, preventing blood from carrying oxygen. Still others mimic natural messengers, jamming the brain's circuits with false signals. In every case, poison is interruption, a shadow thrown across the symphony of living. And yet, poison is also teacher. By studying toxins, humans have uncovered the workings of the body. Curare, drawn from vines, revealed how muscles move. Digitalis from foxglove taught us the rhythm of the heart. Even venom from snakes and scorpions has become medicine, reshaped into pain relief, into treatments that steady blood pressure. What once killed can also heal, depending on dose, on context, on knowledge. This duality hums in the apple of the tail. What appears deadly may also be doorway. The fruit sends Snow White into sleep, not a violent death, but a suspended silence. She does not rot, she does not fade. She rests, preserved, as though held in time's embrace. The poisoned apple is thus paradox, destruction that also protects, harm that also heals. You think of other fruits that carry hidden risks. Apples themselves, in truth, hold a whisper of poison. Their seeds contain amygdalin, which can release cyanide when broken down. In small amounts, the body copes, metabolizing it away. But in large doses, the seeds could harm. Apricot pits, too, hold this shadow, as do almonds, before careful cultivation turned them sweet. Nature often weaves danger and nourishment together, forcing us to learn balance. This intertwining of sweetness and shadow reaches deep into myth. In Greek tales, Persephone eats pomegranate seeds in the underworld, binding herself to its cycles of darkness and light. In Norse stories, the goddess Icon guards apples of immortality, fruits that preserve the gods from aging. In the Bible, too, an unnamed fruit, often imagined as apple, carries the weight of knowledge, of desire, of the fall. Again and again, fruit appears as threshold, a food that is more than food, a bite that changes everything. Snow White's apple joins this lineage. To bite is to cross a border, to move from innocence to silence, from waking into a sleep that feels like death. And you, as listener, move with her. The rhythm of her story becomes the rhythm of your own drifting. Each sentence like a step down a stair, each image like a lantern fading in the dark. The mirror, too, lingers in this chapter. The queen, with her mirror, is the one who chooses the apple, the one whose envy shapes the trap. Mirrors have always fascinated, for they offer truth and illusion at once. To look into a mirror is to see yourself, yet also to see only surface, the light that bounces back, the skin that hides the inner workings. The queen's mirror whispers of appearance, of reflection mistaken for essence. Science, in a way, creates its own mirrors. Telescopes reflect the heavens, microscopes reflect the minute. In both, we see not the thing itself, but its image, bent and guided by glass. Mirrors give us knowledge, but also limit. They show us what can be caught, not what lies beyond. The queen's dependence on her mirror is not unlike human dependence on measurement, on instruments that reveal truth, but also shape it. You imagine her standing before it, asking again and again, who is fairest? Her question is not curiosity, but obsession, not wonder, but hunger. In this, the mirror becomes more than glass. It becomes echo chamber, reflecting her own fear back upon her. Envy, like poison, is interruption. It halts the natural flow of appreciation, turning beauty into rivalry, abundance into scarcity. The queen's envy poisons her as surely as the apple poisons the maiden. You let this thought settle, like fruit ripening in the mind. The apple is not only object. To the queen, it is weapon. To Snow White, it is gift, trust, nourishment. To you, here in the quiet of bedtime, it is symbol, holding all these layers at once. And now, you drift further into the science of fruit, of sweetness, of red itself. The apple's color comes from anthocyanins, pigments that scatter sunlight in ways that paint the skin red. These molecules are not only beauty, they are also shield, protecting the fruit from ultraviolet rays, signaling ripeness to animals. To see red is to feel both attraction and warning, as the human brain has evolved to notice this color with intensity. Red in the body carries other meanings. It is the color of blood, of oxygen moving through veins. It is the flush of warmth in cheeks, the signal of ripeness in berries, the warning of danger in certain insects. To be drawn to red is to be drawn to life itself, even as it warns of risk. Snow White's apple glows red in the tail, not only because it is beautiful, but because it resonates with something ancient in our eyes, the pull toward red as symbol of urgency, of choice. As you breathe slowly, you feel the rhythm of this story ripple outward. The apple becomes heartbeat, pulse, lullaby. It is danger, but it is also rest. For when Snow White falls, it is not into suffering, but into silence. She sleeps, as though the fruit has carried her into another state of being, where breath is shallow, time is paused, and dreams might gather. You may think of sleep itself as a kind of poison, a nightly surrender to unconsciousness. And yet, like the apple, it is also healing. In sleep, the body repairs itself, memory consolidates, the immune system strengthens, dreams whisper through the brain like hidden seeds, reshaping what has been learned, what has been felt. To eat the apple is to fall into sleep. To sleep is to taste the apple's paradox, vulnerability that also brings renewal. And so, in this chapter, you walk with Snow White into that borderland, where fruit and mirror, envy and trust, poison and healing all meet. You walk not with fear, but with calm curiosity, letting each image become another step downward into stillness. The apple rests now not only in her hand, but in your imagination, glowing softly, inviting you to linger in its paradox. You begin to feel yourself mirrored in her sleep. Your own breath slows, your thoughts soften, your awareness hovers between waking and drifting. The apple has done its work, not to harm, but to carry you deeper into the story, deeper into rest. Dawn, kiss, and gentle fading. Morning arrives in the forest, not with sudden brightness, but with a gentle veil of pale light, as though the world itself wishes not to wake too quickly. The frost that has gathered during the long night begins to glimmer faintly, catching the first rays of dawn. You imagine the stillness of the trees, their branches silvered, the ground hushed beneath a fine dusting of cold crystals. It is in this quiet landscape that the final moments of the tale unfold, where the long sleep is broken, and where you, too, are invited to rest within the rhythm of renewal. The kiss at the heart of the story is often imagined as a grand moment, a sudden blaze of love or passion. But in truth, when you pause and soften into it, it feels much quieter. It is less a gesture of desire than of recognition, of connection, of one life touching another with gentleness. You may think of it almost as you would the first breath of morning. The way the air seems cool, then gradually warmer, coaxing the body awake without haste. In this way, the kiss becomes not an intrusion, but an invitation to stir, to rise, to rejoin the flowing river of life. And here, science offers its own reflections. The body, when it sleeps, enters its own world of stillness, yet not of silence. Deep within you, cells repair themselves, memories arrange into patterns, dreams weave connections across the brain. The kiss of waking is mirrored in the gentle shift of hormones, the rise of cortisol at dawn, nudging your awareness back to the surface. Like Snow White's return from stillness, your own waking is a series of small invitations, the heartbeat quickening, the breath deepening, the muscles readying to move again. It is not a storm, but a tide. Think of circadian rhythm, the ancient clock within you, tuned not to machinery, but to the sun itself. It ticks quietly in every cell, guiding temperature, hunger, alertness, and fatigue. When light begins to brighten at dawn, even if your eyes remain closed, the body feels it. Photoreceptors in your skin and your eyes sense the change, whispering to the brain that the world is shifting once more. Just as the maiden in the glass coffin stirs at the touch that calls her back, so do you respond in 1,000 subtle ways to the call of light. There is something universal in this theme of gentle awakening. Across cultures and centuries, myths often place a hero or heroine in deep stillness, waiting not for force, but for a moment of kindness, of recognition, to bring them back. In Greek stories, Persephone returns from the shadowed underworld each spring, her rising mirrored in the return of green shoots to the earth. In Japan, tales speak of maidens who slumber within trees or mountains, only to awaken when the seasons themselves allow it. The pattern repeats, a long pause, then a soft rejoining. Nature, it seems, teaches us that sleep and waking, dormancy and blooming are not opposites, but parts of a circle. When you picture the maiden rising, you may also think of seeds buried in cold soil. Through winter, they lie as if lifeless, yet within them remains the blueprint of growth. They wait patiently for warmth, for water, for the invisible signal that now is the time to stir. The apple tree, too, that bore the fruit of her peril, lies dormant in the frost, only to blossom again when the air softens. Snow White, in her stillness, becomes like the seed, waiting, holding life quietly, until the kiss of change arrives. Even within your own body, countless tiny awakenings happen each moment. Neurons fire in patterns, pulses of electricity that open doors of thought and sensation. Red blood cells carry oxygen, releasing it like a quiet gift to tissues that need it. The heart, steady as ever, contracts and releases, its rhythm unbroken. Even in the deepest sleep, you are never truly still, even when resting. You are like the maiden beneath the frost, motion hidden beneath calm, life flowing unseen. The kiss in the story, then, may be read as a symbol of these unseen connections. A spark moves between one being and another, awakening what seemed gone. On the level of science, it is like the transfer of energy, the movement of light between star and planet, the gentle exchange between carbon dioxide and oxygen in the breath of forest and lung. All existence is a chain of kisses, one life stirring another, one moment breathing life into the next. As the maiden awakens, the glass coffin no longer holds her. The coffin itself is a curious image, transparent, unyielding, preserving her, but keeping her apart. You may think of ice in the natural world, which holds, encases, but also transforms. A lake under winter's grip looks lifeless, yet beneath its frozen surface, fish swim slowly, plants exchange gases, currents stir. Ice, like glass, is both barrier and protector, a pause before the return of movement. When she rises, it is as though the thaw has come, and life begins once more to flow. The idea of thawing, of returning after stillness, is echoed in countless scientific rhythms. Bears emerge from dens, their bodies having slowed, their heart rates softened to nearly half their usual pace. Arctic ground squirrels fall into torpor, their temperatures dropping so low that they hover just above freezing, yet they survive, waiting for warmth. Even tiny insects rest in diapause, pausing development until conditions grow kind again. Snow whites, sleep mirrors, all these states, and her awakening echoes the resilience of life itself. And when she does awaken, notice that the story does not speak of triumph or conquest. There is no battle, no clash of swords. Instead, it is simply the return of breath, the opening of eyes, the soft beginning again. This is perhaps why the tale has lingered so long in human hearts. It reminds you that endings need not be sharp, nor awakenings violent. Life is made of many small risings, many gentle dawns. You, too, awaken in such ways. Sometimes it is from sleep, when the body drifts upward from dreams. Sometimes it is from sorrow, when time itself allows healing to begin. Sometimes it is from fatigue, when a moment of quiet or kindness restores you. Each rising is its own kiss, its own dawn, and each prepares you for the next, reminding you that even the darkest night gives way to light. As the maiden's journey reaches its close, her story becomes timeless. She is no longer only a figure within a forest, no longer only the girl in the glass coffin. She becomes a symbol of renewal itself, a reminder woven into countless retellings that life is not a single line but a cycle. Her fading from the story is not an erasure, but a continuation, for her tale is carried forward, told and retold, shaping itself into the dreams of each generation. And as you listen, you may feel your own thoughts soften, the images of frost, of stillness, of gentle rising blend into your own inner rhythm. Your breath slows, your body sinks deeper into rest. You become like the maiden in her final scene, not gone, not lost, but held in a quiet transition, part of a story that continues even as you drift. The dawn brightens, the frost softens, the kiss lingers as a memory of connection. Snow White's journey closes, yet its echoes remain a reminder that all things rise, all things fade, and all things return. And as the maiden's figure dissolves into dream, you are left with a question. If every ending is also a beginning, where might the next story lead you as you step gently from sleep into the unending flow of wonder. And so our story rests like a candle fading to smoke. Snow White remains not just a princess, but a dream, a whisper carried through time. May your night be gentle, may your sleep be deep. From all of us here at Whispers of the Night, sweet dreams